In September 2017, we put out a national call out for artists to apply to be part of this showcase. We worked with our partners to determine which works we should select and how that would come together as a group.
I was commissioned to design a series of freestanding pavilions in which each of the artists are exhibiting. I started to think of them as a kind of village, a sort of digital village.
We worked with the artists over 12 months as part of a period of research and development, and we matched them up with a number of different people to go and talk to about their ideas. What we wanted them to do was to think about the impact of technology on society and how these emerging technologies were kind of changing and impacting our lives both now and in the future.
The pods, the sheds have just been built. We're a little bit nervous, but ready to go.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what the artists have come up with. I'm expecting to see ideas around the positive and also the negative consequences coming from technology that's being developed today, different visions of the future.
Welcome to the preview of Collusion 2019. We had over 120 applications, which we obviously wheeled down to the artists we have here, so thank you very much, you haven't let us down.
The reason that we chose to get involved really quickly was the fact that we love the vision. As a design services company, we help our clients to develop products and services, but we'd never taken technology to art.
Harry and I'm really excited to show our artwork to the public today because we can really see how people actually engage. We created this idea, okay, what if you use emerging technologies such as augmented reality to actually slow down consumption? So rather than producing more objects, why don't you use technology to actually let you see the objects that you possess already in a different way?
I kind of got feelings of kind of the earth and what we're doing to the earth and preserving it and the importance of preserving our earth, definitely.
Our project is about artificial intelligence and how it's going to look in the year 2030 and about its impact on inequality.
So we're inviting the audience to the home of a young professional in 2030 and we are immersing them in a house party that's being thrown by the inhabitant of the flat and by his or her virtual assistant. So there's two characters really.
That was the first time that I had personally worked with artists and writers to explore the possibilities of new technologies.
So we went and spent a day workshopping ideas with them and hearing from them about just how they would design these virtual assistants. They came up with stuff that we never ever would have done, and hopefully we can implement their ideas into sort of character and narrative in a way that helps them as well.
She's got quite advanced Alzheimer's.
I think it's a very good idea to have these things out in the open where people can just join in. You haven't got the intimidating spaces that you're not quite sure if you're allowed to go in and how you behave in them. This is easy, and also you pick up random people like me who didn't even know what was going on, and it's good.
So each pavilion is unique on the outside, but also have specific requirements on the inside according to the exhibiting artist. They form a little space between them where one of the artworks, the blockchain totem, sits.
It's a memorial for the 21st century of all the cultural history embedded in the blockchain, because everything else is gone.
4th anniversary, Emily. Love you always.
So all the weird memes and all those kind of things are all embedded in there.
We've excavated some of those messages into recognisable chunks, and then we're using a system of text-to-speech to bring those messages into the public square in Cambridge. As you can see behind here, we've got this totem standing in the middle of a square of buildings, and I think each of the component parts of the show reflect on similar subject matter. I'm looking forward to the exchange that's going to continue to happen now as we work with this show over the next 10 days.
The pavilion is wonderful. I'm really happy with it. It looks like it's a giant licorice all sort. And inside it's just like a mini theatre. We've got Alex on the piano inside.
I feel a bit like a pianist for a silent film back in the kind of Victorian times. The only difference here is that I have a degree of actual control over the film that I'll be playing for.
The story of Datacosm corresponds with ideas around data. From the seeding of data, the harvest of it, the consumption, the corruption.
Joe's project is a stop-motion animated film that is mediated by an artificial intelligence algorithm.
My interest was sparked by the possibility of tying AI to art. Art and technology have always developed hand in hand, really. This is aficionado. It's determining the genre of music continuously and in real time.
We're using the output from the aficionado to determine which ending the audience is going to get.
I think the artists and the people who've worked together have really come up with a good way of engaging the audience in these issues in a way that's really accessible and really thought-provoking. So I thought it was really, really fantastic.
It's really interesting, this type of technology presented in such an artistic form. It's certainly something I've never sort of experienced before. Kind of an eye-opener, especially the TO booth. That was really cool.
In the showcase, Teo is an interactive experience. You can choose an avatar to represent you that is aspirational, so you're playing with colour, you're playing with form to get something that's totally unique to you.
It's about exploring, if we had this openness where we could be anything, would we still feel a pressure to confine to what, say, other people may want us to be, whether that's society, hierarchical, or kind of corporate pressures?
Pressures and shackles of the human form.
I've made a 360 performance for camera video. It's a dance piece exploring how the camera and the screen can act as kind of actants in a formal dance choreography. As the video progresses, the piece itself starts to get metabolized by these mushrooms and this mold that subsumes the room and the dancers' bodies.
For me, I could have stood in there for hours. The way that the dance moved around, and it's really beautifully choreographed, but it felt really free, and you just sort of wanted to watch it move all the way around the space, and then the way that the film developed as you went along. It's just as enjoyable as any live piece of dance that you could go and see, and I think that's what really got me about that one.
Making videos is always collaborative. There's always so many people involved, and I've worked quite closely with Rich Hall here at Collusion for the very final part of the post-production.
I think that repurposing 360-degree footage and exploring ways of consuming that are outside of the emerging conventions, I think, is something that I'd like to do more of.
Bringing together groups that don't usually work with one another can ensure that they both get out of their comfort zones, and that's really where innovation can come from.
Collusion have been so supportive. It's been a really kind of exciting period for us. We don't normally have the opportunity to develop work in this way. As with this, it's been amazing to have time to sort of explore different avenues, to work with different organisations who have a different perspective, and I think hopefully that will show in the work that it's infused with a sense of fun, but also with a good deal of research. It globally connects you to everyone.
ARM is really keen to look at how emergent technologies can support sustainability, specifically the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and a great way of doing that is working with an organisation like Collusion that brings in artists. It is a great way of seeing creatively how our technologies might impact the future, where we might be able to have a positive role.
It's very complicated because you're doing a lot of things at once, but it's fun.
Yes. Am I Margaret Thatcher?
Yes! Above all, we actually want people to come to a party. We actually want people to have a good time whilst exploring these quite kind of fascinating and thorny issues.
Having these kind of things in public spaces, I think, is useful, so we can try and understand what it's going to mean to our lives.
I really enjoyed the one with stop motion, where the video was determined by what type of music was playing. I enjoyed this as I do stop motion.
I think it's a very Cambridge thing. You've got a high amount of tech companies here, the Silicon Fen as it's called. There's amazing things going on that we need to kind of have those conversations.
You need people like Collusion who bring people together and allow people to experiment and innovate, and I really value them. We really value them.